What's up everyone, I'm Jacob, also known as Jonesy, and a couple days ago, Zaba announced that the nostalgixtcg would be returning to WasabiCon, which is a con in Jacksonville, Florida. Not only is the con going to have a tournament, but on the event page in NGEM, if we scroll down here, there's already a restricted list that's been added for the tournament. Now because this tournament isn't going to be held until October, things can change until now and then. However, this is the first restricted list which has been announced in any tournament since the release of Harmonic Surge. If you're a casual player, none of this will actually matter, but if you're someone like me who likes playing the webcam tournaments in the Nostalgix Discord and would like to start playing in them, along with other con tournaments like this one, then the restrictions are going to be important to know, so let's talk about them. The first 4 cards on the list are the same cards which were restricted in the last few cons before Harmonic Surge was released. Friend was restricted to 10 copies, Puppet Master 2, Scrap Metal 2, and Extra Life also at 2. Fun fact, I released a deck tech video for my Turbo Extra Life deck a couple hours before this announcement. During that video, I said that Extra Life may still be restricted, and I did give a plan on what to do if that was the case. My plan was to cut out the last 2 copies of Extra Life and replace them with 2 more copies of Rewind Time. However, one of the extra cards which was added to this list is Voidcast, which is now being restricted down to 2 copies. Harmonic Surge gave us Crowd Surf, and between that, Alternate Timeline, and Massive Effect, I felt like there would be enough card draw and milling to actually find Extra Life if it was restricted down to 2 copies, because you could always just use Voidcast to play it from your Void. However, with Voidcast also being restricted, I don't think Turbo Extra Life is the way to go. Now don't get me wrong, I still think Extra Life decks can be good in this new post-Harmonic Surge metagame, but I don't think a turbo strategy for any spell-based decks are going to be viable now if we're only going to have 2 copies of Voidcast. I think if you want to play an Extra Life deck, you're going to need to include a lot more early interaction. Some more 2-mana spells and surprises, and other fighters like Puppet Master Wrong, which can really slow down your opponent with taunt tokens. Now the last card added to the restricted list is Wish Upon a Frog, which is restricted down to 2 copies. Unlike Voidcast, Wish Upon a Frog was not a surprise to me to see it on this list, because of my Shiga Turbo Draw deck. When I built that deck, I did not realize just how good and consistent it would be until I actually started playing games with it. And while I feel like it is still a very difficult deck to play, and I think the skill cap on the deck is going to limit it somewhat in competitive tournaments, the fact that if a player knows what they're doing, they're going to win the vast majority of their games with that deck. So I really do agree that Wish Upon a Frog does need to be restricted just to slow down that deck. However, with Voidcast also being restricted, I really don't think there's any way where that Turbo Draw deck will be able to be consistent enough at a competitive level. Because unlike the Turbo Extra Life deck, in my Shiga deck, Voidcast was key to not only setting up the combo, but also winning the game with Gamatron Slice once you actually combo off and draw through your entire deck. Because the deck still has access to Rewind Time to return any Wish Upon a Frogs or Voidcast, the deck is not totally dead, but the matter of the fact is, Voidcast is essential for any spell-based decks. And the fact that it's restricted now, I don't think any turbo spell decks are going to be very viable in any tournaments in the near future. Now while these restrictions could change in the future, I honestly don't think it will. Because Voidcast highly incentivizes playing spell-heavy decks, I think it's going to stay restricted just to keep more focus on fighter-based decks. The downside to that is that Voidcast can no longer be relied upon to play an early Divine Wrath to stop any aggro fighter-based decks. So I think we're going to see a lot more decks like Elusive's Brecon Value Town deck. Decks with a collection of a bunch of individually strong cards just hoping to outvalue the opponent. But don't worry, because there is a card which was not restricted, which I think can help slow down Brecon decks a lot, and that card is Nullifying Void. So far, Nullifying Void has not been in any of the top performing decks in any of the con tournaments or in any of the webcam tournaments. I would like to change that. I have a Nullifying Void deck that's built and ready to go. However, Zaba did say he's going to rethink the rules interactions involving Nullifying Void because it is the most complicated card in terms of rules interactions in Nostalgix. and until Zappa gives some official clarification, I would not advise running Nullifying Void yet. But once we do get that clarification, you can absolutely expect a deck tech video from me for my Null and Void deck. Until then, there is one more ridiculous combo deck which I've been wanting to try, and this next webcam tournament is going to be the perfect time to try it because the next tournament is going to have Blitz rules. Each turn, everyone goes straight to 10 mana, and you draw until you have 5 cards in hand every turn. It's also going to have the restriction of using only Harmonic Surge heroes. This is going to be the perfect chance to try out some crazy and ridiculous decks. So if you'd like to join the webcam tournament, I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description down below. So overall, what do I think about these new card restrictions? I think they are going to help the game. The only card I'm a little bit iffy about is Voidcast. However, it will promote more fighter-based decks, which I think will be better for the game overall, even if it does hurt some of my favorite decks. So what do you think about these restrictions? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.